Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, subscribe, maybe that cheeky notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from No Rice 3484 from the Am I Wrong subreddit and says, my mother-in-law wants to move in. Ooh, shiver. My 31 male, wife's 32 female, mother wants to move in with us. My wife bought a single wide for her and her mother. 3 brothers, all younger, and sister, younger too, back when she was 20-ish. Nothing special, just a place for them all to live where the lot space was being rented. Fast forward to now, and we finally bought our own place for her, I, and our newborn. We've been living alone together for about 3 months now, and it's been heaven. Her sister moved out of the home 2 years ago and rents an apartment. One of her brothers also moved out and lives in government housing with his partner and 2 kids. Her other brothers are 24 and 27. They stayed in that single wide my wife had bought. A couple of days ago, the landlord informed them that they needed to move out because he was going to build apartments on the lot. They have 2.5 months to move. My mother-in-law has been asking my wife that she wants to move in with us. The house is in my name due to a credit issue when we purchased the home. Someone in her family used her credit cards and ruined my wife's credit. My wife doesn't want to tell her mum no, but we both agree we don't want her moving in for many reasons. Primarily because we just moved in and have a strong relationship and feel her mother would affect that. Plus, I like walking around in my underwear if I please, as it's our home. She's also super lazy, dirty, a slob, and I know she will never leave. I told my wife that I have no problem telling her that she's not moving in. Am I the arsehole for not allowing her a place to live? Now my first thought is, can't she just relocate the single wide? I'm not clued up on these kind of things, but I'm sure that's possible, right? I mean, it might be expensive, but you've given us a small little indication of what it would be like living with mother-in-law, and absolutely, you said she won't leave, so do not let her move in under any circumstance, and your wife needs to back you up on this. This is her mother after all. But Snoo Word says you can be the mean person and tell mother-in-law she should not be moving into your home. Wife needs to grow a spine and lock down her credit. If anyone else uses her credit, a police report should be filed. Tell wife, no more freeloaders allowed to take advantage. Chad Martigan says, the wife needs to understand that OP married her and not her mother, and that it would be an incredibly weird dynamic for him to provide for some 50 to 55-year-old woman he's not married to. Also, let's not gloss over the fact that her family has committed a crime and stolen from the wife/OP. I wouldn't be letting any of them stay until someone owns up to what happened. It's usually a parent who does something like this, and it would be absolute insanity to invite her into your home if that's the case. Satellite Beach says, don't do it. You are absolutely right. This will have a profound effect on you and your marriage. If your wife can't stand up to her mother right now and give her a firm hell no, then you're doomed to be living in a house where your mother-in-law is in charge. You have a new house with a baby and a wife you love. Don't throw it away by bringing in the mother-in-law. She needs to figure out her own life. His impending boldness says, as everyone else has said, be the bad guy. Keep it short, kind, and polite. No. I like being with just wife and baby, thank you. Don't say anything bad about her and don't give detailed reasons she can argue against. Don't let her stay for even a short while. One more comment from Witchvert who says, after having a home purchased for them, how have they not managed to save money to care for themselves? Her family sound like leeches. It's going to be hard for your wife to say no, and it puts you in a bad spot, but protect her. She more than likely views they're using her and needing her as love. Speaking from personal experience. The OP comes back into the post and says, I posted about a month and a half ago how my wife and I bought our first house, and my mother-in-law showing up one day saying she's staying the night while I was at work. Night shift. I came home to her sleeping on my couch. Quick recap. I discussed with the wife and she didn't feel comfortable kicking her out if she tried again, but had no problem with me kicking her to the curb. Well, she came back about 2 weeks after while I was at work and announced she was staying the night again. Only this time, she brought her mother along. Didn't ask permission, didn't say anything, just showed up. Well, that morning I came home, pissed, because she came over unannounced while I was away, and just made herself at home on my couch again. To top it off, they had a family birthday dinner planned that same evening that they wanted to do at my house, but my wife had already said no. Well, I walked in and found 3 big pots of food that had been cooking overnight, which my wife didn't notice because they began cooking after she went to bed. One reason I knew they were planning on having their party there too was because the way my driveway is set up. It's last car in has to be first car out, and she parked in my driveway with room for me to come in behind, instead of on the street, meaning she planned on staying for a good while after I got home from work. I walked in and the mother-in-law, all innocent, says, "Good morning," while again sleeping on my couch. I was pissed but didn't want to blow up, so the first thing I said was, "What do you think this is, a hotel? What's with the sleepover?" To which she says, "It's because it's a lot more comfortable here than in our apartment," shares with 3 adult sons. I proceeded to make myself some dinner, turning on all the lights in our open space kitchen living room area and pouring myself a drink to make her as uncomfortable as possible. I sat there eating and drinking my drink. Remember, this is my after work time, 6 AM, while she laid on the couch visibly looking more and more uncomfortable. After I finished, I grabbed a bunch of dirty dishes she had left, threw them in the sink and went over to have a conversation with her. I told her I never wanted her spending the night, this wasn't a hotel, and to not be coming over to make a mess in my kitchen. She could visit her grandkids and daughter whenever she wanted, but could not spend the night and to respect my house. I then went into my bedroom where I heard her and her mother get up, pack their shit and get out. After that, they began a war against me, telling my wife that I kicked them out, told them to never come around and that they weren't allowed to see our kids. They went on a weak tirade to my wife, trying to convince her to leave me. She went so far as to tell my wife, who we've been dating and married for a combined 12 years, that if she didn't leave me, I would end up being abusive and hit her. What the fuck? To top it off, I found out they actually had their bags already waiting in their car, so they were planning on staying with us for 3 months. It's been a month now, and I have to say, it was so worth it. My in-law has come over 2 times since then, spending no more than 3 hours combined. Best part is she's scared of me right now that I might kick her out again. It's been paradise. Ever since she told my wife all those lies, her true colors came out and my wife's eyes were open to how manipulative mother-in-law is. I mean, my wife was just in the other room and she already knew what I was going to tell her mum. She heard every word. We just spent Christmas with my family but came home early to our home and enjoyed family time with just our kids, and it was the best Christmas we've had in a long time. So there were some relevant comments after that. 4BigKid says, "So are we talking mother-in-law plus your wife's grandma? So weird as to their expectations. Good on you for drawing the line. Is it a cultural thing they expected to live in your house?" Opie says, "It is a weird situation. Trying to make a long story short, my wife bought a single-wide trailer when she was just 18 for her and her entire family to live. All they had to do was pay rent on the lot. My wife's mum, grandma, 3 bros and 1 sis lived there. The lot they were renting got sold, so they were trying to mooch off my wife again by coming to live here rent-free." Pineapple Scientist says, "Congrats. Did you or your wife have a conversation with your mother-in-law explaining that she can't stay over prior to the 'what do you think this is a hotel'? I read your last post and then this one and it feels like I missed something in the middle. It escalated quickly, but I'm glad it worked out in the end." Opie says, "Lol, there was no sit-down conversation prior. My wife said she would, but I told her that I could do it because I didn't want to mess up their relationship. I knew mother-in-law would get extremely butthurt, and trust me, I was very respectful when I laid down the law, even though I was fuming. I told her, come literally whenever you want. Morning, noon, evening, I don't care, but there will be no spending the night, and no coming over and making a mess in our kitchen." She took what I said and let her imagination run wild. And the kitchen thing, it wasn't like she was coming over and making us dinner. It's that she was going into our fridge and making herself meals and leaving everything out. Eggs, cheese, everything and anything. Villain 911 says, "Well handled. I'm hoping they don't get through to your wife and turn her against you. Things like that unfortunately happen far more often than they should." Opie says, "I've heard the same thing from a lot of people. The good thing is, wife eyes were open to how much of a leech her mum is. It's a long story, but she's been mooching off of her kids for years. Dad died when the kids were young, so a lot of government help meant she never had to work. And one more comment which says, what happened to the single wide trailer your wife bought? Obi says my wife ended up signing it over to her mum so she could sell it and keep the money. It's not worth much at this point, maybe like 10k. I was quite surprised by some of the comments below that one as well about how often this kind of thing happens, that their mother just sort of mother or parent with it or some relative just suddenly turning up and slowly trying to move in the house. Because I had to do a double take when I first read that grandma suddenly turned up as well. I was like, what the fuck? Where did grandma come from? So how long would it be before some of the boys started following in as well? And of course, I think wife needs to take some serious stepping back from that situation. It doesn't sound healthy at all. It sounds like she could quite easily be manipulated once again by mother-in-law. But I think fair play to OP for stepping in when they did and, setting that boundary firmly. When OP mentioned though about, not wanting to damage the relationship between mother-in-law and wife, I was kind of like, does that really matter in some ways? I get it in some ways, but in others I'm like, wow, he just seems like a manipulative, not very nice person anyway. And you wonder how much wife has grown up around this kind of behavior, like it's sort of like been normalized for her, so it's hard to escape. Obviously a lot of people in the comments also saying that, wife needs to grow a spine, etc, etc, but I always look at it from that point of like, if you've grown up and it's been normalized to a point, it's got to be difficult to break, right? Not excusing it, but it's got to be quite difficult. But anyway, what do you guys make of this situation? I'm not sure if that's quite concluded as yet. We shall see in the future. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And I'll start off by saying our next story is not safe for work. It does contain talk of kinks, let's just say. So as always, if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along a timeline below. Thank you. And now let's get started. This is from Throwaway Pick Meg F, who says, am I the arsehole? 25 male for telling my girlfriend 24 female. I'd rather break up than do something in bed. Oh boy. We've been together since senior year of college and have talked about marriage. We're not exactly sexually adventurous, just normal stuff, but we've been trying a few more things lately. She said she really wants to try pegging. She said, we've already done anal, so I shouldn't be too opposed, except we only did it because she wanted. I can take it or leave it. I told her that I would never agree to pegging and she'll just have to forget about it. She bought a strap-on to try to convince me it wasn't that big of a deal. No kink shaming, but I have no interest and don't want to try. She said that if I don't do it, she'll never be able to experience it. I half-jokingly told her if she keeps pushing it, she'll be free to experience it with whoever she wants. She started to cry. Should I just do it because she wants, or should she respect my decision and drop it? Edit, a bit of context. We're both raised in evangelical churches and have since left. What's adventurous to us is pretty tame to many. It's also why we have difficulty discussing consent and boundaries. It's an absolute no from me. She shouldn't be pressuring you into doing something sexually that you don't want to do. You said this is a no for you, but to buy it, that you express you're not interested, it sounded quite manipulative to me. But Incognito says, not the arsehole, your girlfriend shouldn't be trying to pressure you into doing any sexual acts you don't want to do. Most of us women are very aware of issues with consent. Seems your girlfriend has hopefully temporarily forgotten about it. Please remind her, and if she doesn't drop it, drop her. Craft Intelligence says not the arsehole, absolutely not the arsehole. To pressure someone into doing something sexually they don't want to do is such an absolute hard no, and she is applying pressure. By purchasing it, she's hoping that you'll feel bad she spent money and just give in. That's not cool. Ask her genuinely if she or any of her girlfriends have ever felt pressured into doing something they didn't want to do. Guarantee that 99% of them will have, and she'll hopefully apologize for her shit behavior. It's fair enough to be curious and to ask to explore, but to guilt pressure someone is absolute bull. I really hate Fish says not the arsehole, fucking hell. Her pressuring you like this and buying the equipment like it's already a done deal is awful. It sounds like you guys need to slow down and talk about boundaries in your relationship. Just because one person is okay with something, that doesn't mean the other person is okay with the same thing. If it's so important to her and is crossing your boundaries, you're just not compatible. If you want to stay together and work it out, you need to have a long talk about what you like and don't like and where your limits are, and agree to respect those limits. Throwaway says, I would say leave her, to be honest. She sounds manipulative. I don't know her as a person, but people go to that extent to get what they want. Usually 9 times out of 10, crying because other people don't do what you want. They're manipulative in many other ways. This relationship either won't last, or you'll be married and only stay for the kids, or people enabling her manipulative tendencies. I'm a teenager, and even I see through that shit. So OP does come in with an update and says thank you to everyone that took the time to comment and share advice. It really helped me. Brief summary from the original. My girlfriend tried pressuring me into letting her peg me. We got into a huge fight. Here's the update. We broke up. Nah, joking. She's next to me on the couch bugging me to rub her feet. I guess she hasn't learned anything about consent. The real update is positive, especially for our relationship. A lot has happened. I took advice from the comments to have a conversation about boundaries, consent, and focusing on things we are both comfortable exploring. She agreed it was a good idea. We were really naive and unprepared for all of this. We thought we could figure it out as we went. She asked if I was willing to share the websites I was finding this info so she could read them too. I told her that I posted it on Reddit. Actually, lucky I did, since someone made a TikTok about my post that she saw, and she probably didn't want to see it. The comments were universally against her. She asked me to share her anyway. She read the post and some of the comments. She said she knew she was wrong, but was a little surprised by how negatively people reacted to her. I asked why she cried, and it was because she was upset. I would even joke about breaking up. She wasn't trying to manipulate me by crying. She thought we were just having a conversation. I told her she wasn't listening to me and how uncomfortable I was. I was trying to find an exit ramp for the conversation, not seriously talking about breaking up. I also apologized because I was wrong to joke like that. She admitted she wasn't sensitive to my boundaries and was just focused on what she wanted. She recognized that behavior is really toxic, and she would think I was an ass. Yes, that's a pun. If I kept ignoring her boundaries. She also apologized for buying the toy and agreed it was manipulative. One commenter suggested a yes, no, maybe list. This advice has made a world of difference. We found some examples that helped us create our own. We agreed to be honest, no judgment, and to not pressure the other person on anything they put no or maybe on. We agreed the list was just for discussion. It didn't imply consent. We would discuss everything, and we're free to change our minds at any time. If you're wondering, I marked pegging as a no for me, and she checked yes. She will not be bringing it up again unless I change my response, but I'm glad she was honest. There is still some awkwardness surrounding sex, enjoying it, exploring it, and even talking about it. We're giving each other grace and allowing for mistakes and misunderstandings. There are plenty of things we're both willing to do right now, not to mention just regular weekday sex is pretty great. The rest of the update is about our future, not really related to the original post. When we're having our discussions about sex and communication, we also started talking about our relationship with each other, Jesus, and church. We realized we missed belonging to a church community but wanted to find one that fits our values, not our parents. We found a nice church. My family would call it Church Light. We've just started going, and they are very welcoming and the people are very nice and accepting. One of the reasons we joined was we wanted to be married in a church. That's right, we're engaged. We're already thinking of marriage, but these last few months we've really solidified our commitment to each other and our future together. She told her parents and they didn't give us their blessing. We were expecting that. Her parents are very traditional. They won't visit us because we live together and made it clear the last time we visited them, they don't approve of us and our views. My fiancée, girlfriend at the time, told her sister she was on birth control and also said they should get the HPV vaccine. They're adults and can make their own choices, but her parents don't see it that way. That caused a shitstorm. We weren't invited to Christmas. We told her parents we will invite them to the wedding and it's their decision to attend or not. Her siblings are happy for us and said they will be at the wedding. My parents were happy. They aren't strict about things, although I can't deny the fact I'm their son, not daughter, plays a part in it. My mum just wants us to have kids so she can be a grandmother. I know my fiancé wanted her mum to be involved in the wedding planning, dress shopping and all that, and for her dad to give her away. She's really disappointed and hoping they will change their minds, but we're not expecting them to. We aren't going to have a big wedding since we're paying for it all, but it will be what we want and is for us, not anyone else. Oh man, Reddit is absolutely wild sometimes. I'm glad that communication, that they are talking about, you know, consent and boundaries, and they've got this list that's acceptable for them. But it really threw me out. I gotta be honest, when we went from pegging to we've joined a new church, I was like, whoa. Not that people who are into pegging can't be into church. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying, but it did throw me. Reddit comments are always sort of wild, but one did absolutely throw me off. Cheeseball Fondue says, ah, yes, the classic heartwarming pegging story. To which Dusty Daisy replied saying, get strapped in for a fun ride. But anyway, what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. Truly, you are absolutely amazing. Never forget that. I do appreciate you. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.